Hello, this is a nice little snapshot of my algebra Pass Your Maths in 8 weeks lesson. Now this is the simultaneous equations part. So I'm recording this especially in time for the summer 2023 exams. Now, simultaneous equations, well, look at the words and what do they mean? So up at this point, if you are doing simultaneous equations, you will know what an equation is. So it's where we've got something equals to something else, okay? So you might have something like 3x plus 4 equals 20. Solve it. Yeah, you kind of move everything away and then you kind of send it over to leave the letter, the variable on its own, the x, the p, whatever the letter is. Now, if there are two things that we don't know that we need to find, we need two equations. One thing I want to emphasize here is when you see these on an exam, they generally will say, please show algebraic working, i.e. not trial or error. You can't just say, okay, well, let's just try x plus y. Okay, x could be 5, y could be 10 kind of thing. So what I'm going to do is go through a bit of an explanation doing one, okay? So now, earlier on, I was recording something and it was going really slowly, so I will do my best now to see what happens. So a simultaneous equation, there's two solutions. And by that, I mean, you'll have a value for x and you will have a value for y, or whatever the values are in the question. Now, with these, sometimes you might have something like one family went to the park and they bought 2 adult tickets and 3 children's tickets, and it came to this amount. And then you might have, another family, they had 3 adult tickets and 2 child, and it came to this amount. How much did the adult and how much did the child tickets cost? So you've got 2 relationships, 2 equations, and then you've got 2 things to find, the adult price and the child price. So I'm going to go through here is, if, for example, you knew that x is equal to 7 and y is equal to 3, we could make any equation up from that, couldn't we? Anything we wanted. So this is just an illustration, by the way. You wouldn't do this when we were doing simultaneous equations. So we could work out, well, what's 5x plus 2y? Well, just as a little reminder, 5x means 5 lots of x times. So that would be 5 times 7. And then you'd have 2 lots of y, which is 3. So 2 lots of 3, big mass. 5 times 7, 35. 2 times 3, 6. Add the 2 together. Yeah. We could also do 4x minus 2y. I mean, let's be honest, we can do any combination of them that we want to, okay? But this is just showing you how we can create 2 different equations based on 2 values. That's okay, it's easy to do. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to say, imagine we didn't know what the x and the y values were. We've got to try and find them, okay? So here's an example. So I've got that same example there. So we've got 2 solutions and we've got 2 equations here. So hang on a second, I'm just going to go through here. So what I always do with a question like this is label each one of your equations. First one, number 1, second one, number 2. You're not going to gain marks for doing this. You're not going to lose marks if you don't do it. However, when it comes to the work that we do with simultaneous equations, it certainly helps direct what you're going to do. So for example, say you've got this question. So we've got 5 lots of this one number added to 2 lots of the other number equals 41. So what we do is we look to see for each of the letters, so x and y, do any of them have the same number in front of them? Okay, that's what we call the coefficient. So 5 is the coefficient for this, 2 is the coefficient for this. So let's look at the x's first. Well, they haven't got the same number in front of them. Okay, so let's look at the y's. Yeah, they have. Same letter is y. Same coefficient is 2. But they have different signs. What we're going to do is we're going to either add these two equations together, or we're going to subtract one from the other. The idea being is that we want to eliminate, we want to get rid of one of those letters mathematically. Okay, so don't worry, we're not just deleting it and forgetting about it. Okay, we're using maths rules, because we can use maths rules in any kind of situation as long as we're doing the right thing. So because they're the same number and the signs are different, that says we add them. So let's do it. So we've labelled our equations. Step 2, try and eliminate one of the letters. So what we're going to do is we're now going to look at, oh, hang on a minute. Oh, I know, sorry. I'm going through this now. I created this, goodness me, nearly a year ago. So just bear with me with what's on there. So looking at this one, this is one where we would subtract one from the other. Why? Because if you look at those 2's, so we've got the two numbers in front of the x's aren't the same. So are they the same number in front of the y's? Yes, they are. Is the sign the same in front of them, plus or minus? It's the same. That is where we subtract. Now, what we would then do is decide, well, am I going to do that equation, take away that one? And by that, I mean that take away that take away that take away that. Or am I going to do it the other way around? So let's go back to that first one. So all I've done so far is introduced you to the idea that actually we look to see if we can add or subtract one equation from the other to completely eliminate one of the letters. So when we've got the same number, but a different sign, we add them. So what I do is, you notice how I've put on the left-hand side here, add 1 plus 2. So that means add equation 1 to equation 2. So I'm going to go through each one at a time. Now I'm doing this for a student who is doing the IGCSE paper, foundation level. So you have a calculator. If you are doing this on a paper, which you get a calculator for, I strongly suggest you make sure you do each step at a time. Because if you can remember the method, a method to help you with simultaneous equations, it's easy marks. If you can solve equations, if you can, move letters from one side of the equal sign to another, if you can add positive and negative numbers together, simultaneous equations is just a nice, easy, get it out the way, got a few marks. So what I've done here is I've done it step by step. So we've got 5x and we're adding plus 4x gives us 9x. I like this because I'm doing this like a few days before an exam. So it's a good reminder of some of the basics as well. So the next one we're going to look at is plus 2y, add minus 2y. And I've put this down the side. So if you feel like I just want to kind of recognize what I'm doing, just write it down. So it's the first number added to the second number. What I always suggest is put brackets around that minus 2y, because that minus is attached to the 2y. If you see what I mean, they're together. It doesn't belong to the letter before, the number before. So, and when we're adding a negative number, so we're adding a negative, it becomes a negative. Okay, so we've got plus 2y, minus 2y. So you're giving it, and then you're taking it all back again. You're left with nothing. So that goes. And that was the purpose of looking to see if the coefficients were the same number, were the same. So the plus 2, minus 2, and this different signs, so we add. So then what we do then is got our equal sign, and then we add the number after the equal sign on both sides. So that's 63. So in total there, we've got 9x equals 63. So now we've got one thing, haven't we? We're using the fact that we can trade off these equations with each other to be left with an equation with one thing we don't know, which is the x in this case. Might be the y next time, who knows? Depends what the numbers are. So 9x equals 63. So therefore, 9 lots of a number I don't know is 63. So we divide both sides by 9, or take the 9 over to the other side through the vortex to do the opposite, and we get x is equal to 7. Okay? Always use your calculator, please, if it is a calculator paper. There's nothing, as I've said to a student I've seen for the first time today, it's not a race. You don't get extra marks for just doing it all in your head. However, you can lose marks doing it in your head and you make a mistake. Take your time. It's better to take your time, because then you haven't got to go back over it and try and find out why these numbers don't add up. Okay, so then what we do is we take that number and then we put it back in to one of the equations at the top. Because remember, these are all based on, we know 5 lots of the first number, which is 7, plus 2 lots of the other number gives me 41. Well, I know that 35. So therefore, I've got another 6, haven't I? You know, when you've got a drink, I'm not promoting any drink here. This is me just drinking something that I like. I don't have it that often, but if I have a fizzy drink, I like Pepsi, cherry Pepsi Max. I've got loads of ice cubes in it as well, so it's like super cold now. It's really nice. Anyway, I digress. So 5x plus 2y equals 41. It's entirely up to you which equation you put it back into. It doesn't matter. I always like to stay clear of negatives if I can, more because it's another thing you have to remember in an exam. And as I've said many times, the better you are at maths, you may know the rules and you may be able to recall them in lessons, but it's how you apply it and how careful you are with going from one line to another okay? So I rearrange that. I've got 5 lots of 7 plus 2y equals 41. So 35 plus 2y is 41. This is what I want. I want that y. So the 35, take it off both sides, get 2y equals 6. And we are left with y equals 3 and x equals 7. Now, we knew that, didn't we? Because I created those equations before. The reason I did it this way is that you can see how, using these equations and how we can sort of trade them off against each other, how we can then algebraically find the answers in the end. Okay, right. So what I'm going to do now, I think I've gone through all this one here now. And again, bear with me, because this one is a slightly different one now. Remember before we were looking for the coefficients being the same, and then we were looking for the signs. So if the signs were different, we add. If the signs are the same, we subtract. What have we got here? Now, I know I've created this. I'm just going to go through this so far. Hopefully it'll have the solution in there for us. And just bear with me. So the numbers are not the same here, are they? So what we have to do is we have to multiply one or both of the equations by some number. Okay, so do you know when we're adding or subtracting a fraction and the denominator is different, we have to make sure that we multiply it. We have to make sure it's got a common denominator, so we multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number. We do the same with ratios. So 2 to 3 is the same as 4 to 6. They're both multiplied by the same number. This is exactly the same. So we need to multiply the whole, did you get that one? The whole equation by a number. Otherwise, the things won't work. Okay, so if we multiply this equation by 5, we will have a plus 5y and we'll have a minus 5y. And isn't that where we add them. So we've got an extra step in here where we're applying a multiplication to one of the equations. So they are the same, okay? Now, what I'm going to do in a minute, is I'm going to just go through a few questions and I'm just going to talk through that first step, okay? Because sometimes that's the hardest one I think people find. So we have got a 5x, because we're multiplying that by 5, plus a 5y equals 5 lots of this. So again, calculator, 75. But yes, I can do it without a calculator, but I've got nothing to prove. So yeah, I try and do it in my head. So because the coefficients are now the same, but a different sign, we will now add them. I have to move my drink away. I've spilt a drink already today. Luckily, it didn't go on my laptop. So we're going to add those two equations together. So we're going to do it a letter at a time, a variable at a time. Although it's not a variable, it changes. Anyway, I'll leave that there for now. 5x plus 7x is 12x. And again, this is that kind of rule, which I've already spoken over. Again, I did this quite a while ago, so it's not fresh in my head what was coming up next. I don't script these things. I just use my own resources and talk through them. I sometimes do talk through other people's resources, but I like to have my own because it's kind of built in a way that works for me. Okay, so we've got 5x plus 7x, 12x, plus 5 plus minus 5 is 0. And then 75 plus 3 is 78. So now we've got a single step equation. 12 lots of some number I don't know is 78. So therefore divide by 78 divide 78 by 12 to get my answer. And I can work that out as 6.5. Always kind of cancel down as much as you can as good practice with fractions. Someone says, well, do I have to simplify it? Well, calculator paper, 78 over 12, stick it in your calculator and it'll give you as a mixed number. I am going to be doing a workshop, a quick sort of recce on calculator work. There's been lots of things I've been planning to do eventually. All right then, so now remember x equals 6.5. We're going to substitute that in to equation number 1. So we've got x, so we've got here that's 6.5 plus something equals 15. What is that something? Use your calculator to double check. 15 minus 6.5 gives us an answer of 8.5. So those are our two solutions. X is 6.5, Y is 8.5. Okay, now I'm going to stop that there. And what I'm going to do is I am going to go into, just bear with me a second. I'm just going to go into a different lesson because I have got, I'm just going to go into it now. Here it is. Window. I'm going to put it into PowerPoint. I'm literally, I know you can't see it at the moment. I'm literally trying to move a file over. Just trying to open something up. There we go. I might just. I'm going to open something up. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to put it now. If you have ever seen a huge, huge thing of simultaneous equations, this is it. Okay, so I am now just going to share my screen again, and I'm going to take you into this little beauty. Now, yes, I did say it's a little beauty. Maths is I love the way maths works, and I think it definitely helps the way it's taught. So this is a massive lesson on how to solve simultaneous equations. Hello? Is there somebody at my door? No? Okay, I'm going to carry on. Okay, I thought somebody was coming into my room then. This is something I haven't created. Okay, I am just sort of using parts of it. I know it was sort of given when I was a teacher, so it's something I've used now and again, and it's really, really handy to dip into. Sometimes when we just want some questions and I just want to get to them quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a few of these things here. So this is where we've substituted one thing into another, and that's, don't worry about that too much. Again, I'm just going to whiz through some of these. Once they've gone straight to the back, I know what I've done. I've ended up clicking on something. I'm going to stop this, and then I'm going to go, in fact, I'm going to go into, I have got some exam papers in here. Let's have a look in. Where are we? You know when you think you know where something is, and clearly it isn't. Let's go into IGCSE.